Hello, good evening.
Good
Good evening, ma'am.
ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening to you all. Right, so today we are about to start the last day's content, that is the day 4's content of Unit 5. Previous week, that is last week, we discussed about the different approaches that we can use to teach grammar. Can you remember at least a few approaches that we discussed last week? Just to refresh your memory, I don't need the explanation. Can you just be the name itself?
Audiolingual approach,
Audiolingual approach,
cognitive approach,
cognitive. What
communication.
was, communication.
Deductive and inductive approaches.
Yeah, they fall under which one? Deductive and inductive?
Traditional approaches.
Additional approach.
Under the traditional approach. And also towards the end of the session, what was the approach that we talked about? Something to do with certain principles and all. An approach that has 5 or 6 principles in itself that need to be adhered to.
Structural approach.
Good. Structural approach, right? So the structural approach was derived from structuralism, where we use grammatical structures. Basically, grammatical structures are presented to the learners through which language is taught. So in each and every approach, the purpose is to teach the language. How is the language being taught? Under structural approach, it's basically through presenting different language grammatical structures. So grammar becomes the predominant focus. They are taught grammar through different structures like that of prepositional phrase, or maybe a simple sentence, or a verb phrase, a noun phrase, adjectives. Likewise, different structures are presented and taught to the learners through which they believed the learner will be able to learn the language. So that is what we discussed during the latter part of the previous session. And today's one is the continuity of that, right? So today we are going to focus about presenting structures. When we are doing a grammar lesson based on structural approach, when the structures, different structures, let's assume you are going to teach the passive structure, or you are going to teach reported speech, or any other tense structure. How should the teacher start the lesson, present structures, and then go ahead with the lesson? Right. So today's content is something to do with the procedure of presenting structures, how we can grade the structure. We can't just pick and choose whatever structures we like and go and present it. First of all, we need to grade the structures appropriately and then start presenting it. So how should or what should we take into account when grading the structures? Also, the procedure related to presenting the structures. And afterwards, we will be focusing on correcting mistakes, different types of mistakes that can come about in the learner's work. Right, so this is what we discussed in the previous session, last week's one. Right, so you have all these approaches lined up here, which we have talked about in the previous session. The 9th part of it, last part of it, we will be focusing 8 and 9. 8 already we have done, but once again we will be revisiting it and then continuing with today's content. Look at today's topics. Presenting structures, this one is getting repeated. basically what we are going to discuss over here is the procedure or the process involved in presenting the grammatical structures. Then grading language, how structure should be graded. Before presenting itself, grading has to take place. So how should grading happen? And correcting learners' mistakes, possible mistakes or errors, more than the mistake, possible errors that the learners can make and how you can correct it. Then recycling the language, basically revision, or maybe recalling already what the student knows, and then building or presenting the structure on the basis of that. And finally, the practice and the production stage. Right? So overall, today's topic is to discuss about how to handle a grammar lesson based on structuralism, right? Or based on the structural approach. See, now we have already discussed the principles of structuralism. If you have the snapshot of the previous session, you will be able to see that we have already discussed the important principles connected to structuralism. I'm not talking about the important principles connected to presenting. Overall, when we are using the structural approach, there are 6 or 7 basic principles that we have to adhere to. Since we are going to use structuralism or structural approach in a lesson, grammar lesson, we need to remember or remind ourselves about those principles. See, first of all, importance of forming language habits. Whatever the structure that we are introducing, we intend to make the learners form it as a habit. If you are going to teach simple present tense, they should be able to automatically identify the simple present tense structure in a given passage, or they should be able to use that structure spontaneously. That is what is meant by habit formation. Now tell me, according to audiolingual method, how did they promote habit formation? What is the technique that they used in producing habit formation in the learners? There was a particular technique that they used under audiolingual method.
Oral drilling.
Very good. Drilling or repetition. Oral drilling or repetition. The same applies here. Audiolingual approach or audiolingual method was culminated, it was formed using structuralism as well. Therefore, even when we are presenting a structure, drilling or repeating that structure have to take place. In the process of presentation, we should make it a point for the learner to orally repeat those particular structures. See, oral work, repetition. What are they doing? What is the oral work they are doing? They are repeating, right? So through the oral work of repetition, the structures are going to get present, right? So all these are very small, subtle points that we need to remember. When we are doing a lesson, this is how it has to happen. We have to present the structure, drill it with the learners extensively, and see the class should be a learner-centered classroom. Teacher will be there definitely as a facilitator, but the learners will be active. They will be drilling, they will be using the structures. Teach the grammar of the target language by focusing on its structures. That is also another principle, just like using drilling and oral work, using the structures to teach the language, right? So Not only structures, even basic vocabs are taught. Without vocabulary, you can't expect them to use the structures in isolation. Therefore, even basic words are taught. Creation of different types of meaningful situation. This is exactly what happens in the practice and production stage. After you present the structure, the learners are made to practice it. How are they practicing it? Using a role play, or maybe using a drama or a dialogue. Or at times they can just mime actions or any kind of activities. Right? So meaningful, contextualizing or using meaningful situations to practice that structure is seen, should be done. In a lesson, we do this during the practice and production stages. One item of language is taught at one time. That is another important principle. Not to make things complex, but just stick to one at a time. You introduce the simplest structure first and then gradually increase the level of the structures. Mastery of structures is emphasized. That means they should be able to use it in their real life situation. Whatever structure that is practiced in the classroom, the learner must be able to use it in real life. So these are the principles of structuralism. When we are doing a grammar lesson based on structural approach, throughout the entire lesson, you will find these principles being applied. Right? So basically, this is the platform on which we are going to conduct the lesson. We talked about it in the last class. Today, I'm repeating it since in the next subtopics, we definitely know we need this knowledge to develop the process of presenting structures. Right. The procedure or the process involved. When you're reading it, just try to relate whatever that is given over here to the principles. You should be able to relate it to a particular principle. Listen to a model dialogue. Learners listen to a model dialogue, either read by the teacher or on a tape containing the key structures that are the focus of the lesson. So that is how the lesson will begin. When we are doing a grammar lesson based on structural approach, we are not to go and write the grammatical structure on the board. It has to be presented in a context. You can narrate a story, oral narration, or you can make them listen to a audio taped story or a song, or wherever you find that particular structure being used. Right? So it can be something, an electronic device can be used, or else the teacher herself can just narrate it. The idea is structure should be contextualized. Repeat each line of the dialogue individually and in chorus. After that is the structure is presented in the context, wherever you find the structure being presented or being there on that story, or maybe a dialogue or role play, teacher highlights that particular line. She orally first articulates it. For example, he gets up at 5 a.m. Saman worships God as soon as he gets up. Next, he has a bath. Likewise, if it is simple present tense, all those structures are highlighted individually by the teacher. Teacher articulates it, those structures, and make the learners to repeat. Right? So you can find the repetition, use of oral work being a part over there. Right? When they are presented in the form of a dialogue or song or whatever it is, meaningful situations are used to present. Right? So nothing out of the principle is being put into. Right? So whatever that we are doing has a reason. There is a rationale governing it. So first, in the presentation of structures, you need to present it in a context, and then the teacher highlights the structure and make the learners repeat the structure after her. While they are repeating, pronunciation should be checked. Intonation, pronunciation, mostly we check for the pronunciation. Then the dialogue is put on the board. You display it on the board, or maybe you write it on the board. And what is happening afterwards? Reading aloud. All this time, the dialogue or maybe the drama or whatever it is, the input is not shown. It's not visible to the learners. Only the audio form is there. Right? So always remember, when structures are presented, first they should be presented in the audio format, right? Not to write it on the board or use a chart or something else. That will happen later. See, once they are made to listen to it, repeat it, after that, the written version is displayed and the learners are made to read aloud. So by now they would have they should be able to identify the structure. Certain structures are drilled in group as well as individually. Already they have repeated after the teacher as a whole class. Now with the visible input, they are able to listen to the structure as well as look at it on the board. So visual, auditory, both are there. The same structures get drilled. See how they are taking it step by step. Dialogue is then adapted to the student's interest or situations by changing certain keywords. You can delete certain words. Maybe you can use synonyms or antonyms, or maybe you can change the situation. Now, if you are talking about a seller and customer, you can reverse that situation or change it between a doctor and a patient. Likewise, you can adapt the situation, provided the learners are able to cope with it. If the learners are still beginners, they are struggling to cope with the structures already presented, then don't go to adapt it. Possible reading and writing vocabulary activities, that is basically we are moving from the presentation stage with this 1, 2, 3, 4. With the fourth bullet, the basic presentation process is finished. After that, according to the learner level, the teacher can adapt it. If the learners are really clever ones, then you can introduce a similar situation and elicit same kind of structures that they can use in that situation. If they are average or below average, then you can just skip this fifth bullet and go ahead with the practice stage. Reading, writing, vocabulary activities based on the dialogue. You can give, first you need to give controlled, semi, and then free activities. Afterwards, homework should be assigned in order to recall or revise what they have learned to make them remember. Homework needs to be assigned, right? So the last three, they don't belong to the presentation process. The presentation is done with the first four. Those are the important stages through which the presenting of structures are done. Here it's more towards practice and production. Now read during the presentation stage how it should be done. When we use the input, any kind of input, and orally ask them, talk to them or present them the structure, elicit and extend. That means related to the structure, whatever the child knows should be elicited. And then whatever that he doesn't know should be built on that basis. See, now here they are focusing on teaching language function. When we are doing a functional lesson, teaching language function, excuse me, can I have a word with you? If you want to interrupt a person who is busily talking to somebody else, this is a structure that you can use. So sometimes the learner might know this structure. Excuse me, even if he doesn't know, can I have a word? This part of it he might know. How are you going to interrupt and speak to a person who is busily doing something? He will definitely come out with the term excuse me. So elicit that term. Whatever the child knows related to this language function, elicit it. And then introduce similar one, or you can build on top of that. See, I am sorry to interrupt you for a moment. Now, I am sorry to interrupt is the new structure, language function that they are going to, under the language function. This is you call these the exponents. This is the new exponent that the teacher is intending to teach. But see how she elicits whatever the learner knows and then introduces this. That's very important. When we are introducing any structures, it can be connected to language function, it can be connected to grammar. Here see, teaching prefixes. So many negative prefixes are there. Now the teacher needs to elicit. Sometimes the child might only know un, the prefix un that is used to negate. Then the teacher has to elicit examples like unhappy, unsaid, or any other appropriate words that are used with the prefix un, and then introduce similar negative prefixes, right? So that is the first important thing that you have to remember, elicit and extend. Now relate the principle. Tell me the principle that can get related to this. Try to find the principle from those seven. No principle? Okay, look at it.
Third one.
Third one. Importance of pupils' activity. No, that is learner-centered. More than that?
Number 4.
Number 4. Teach grammar of the target language by focusing on its structures, right? By focusing on whatever the structures that they already know. And then introduce the new ones. 4 is okay. Right. Look at the second one. One at a time. The principle in the principle itself, you have one, introduce or use one structure at a time when presenting structures. The same thing is repeated over here. Do not present two or more structures together. See, now the intention is to teach modal verbs. Can, showing ability. Jane can swim. I can paint. Tom can't skate. Jack can't drive. Now, in this instance, now can and can't, you can present it together. It's meaningful, right? So, can means it shows ability. Can't means it shows inability, whatever that they can't do. They can't, both are getting contrasted. Therefore, you can present can and can't together since they are almost the same structure. One is positive, indicating the positiveness, and the second part is negativeness. But don't go to present, maybe can. I can swim. I can do something. And can I come in? Can I have your notebook? There, the function of can is not indicating ability. What is the function over there? Can I come in? Can you lend me your pen? What are we doing? What is the language function communicated over there? If somebody asks you, can I come in? What is he trying to seek
Requesting.
from? Yeah.
Requesting.
Requesting, seeking permission, right? Can I come you? Can I come in? Can I have your pencil? Polite request, right? So there, can is not reflecting the same language function as ability, indicating ability. So that might puzzle the child. So if at all, if you are going to do a lesson where you need to use can for requesting something, polite request to indicate polite request, that should be done in a separate lesson, right? So that is what they are mentioning. During a lesson, introduce one structure at a time so that the child will not get confused. Don't deviate, right? So use one structure at a time and not to deviate from that structure. We don't intentionally do it, but automatically it happens. When you talk about the ability related to can, if there is a child coming out with an answer, can I come in? Or can I borrow your pen? Then obviously we tend to explain those functions of can as well, right? So if we come across those situations, we have to say, now that is a different function of can. We'll discuss about it later and stick to the same function. Always stick to the structure throughout the lesson. Stop diverting attention to some other concept, right? So don't start somewhere and go and end up teaching something else. Be consistent right from the beginning till the end. If you are teaching simple present passive construction, let it be simple present. Don't bring in past tense passive construction into that. You can contrast it to show the difference, but not elaborate on the second topic. Then the fourth important issue or the important point that we need to follow is speak naturally. Normal speech rate while explaining, giving examples, eliciting answers. Don't be in a hurry. Be very calm and use normal speech rate while speaking. And also avoid unnatural pronunciations, accents, right? Don't have difficult accents for the learners to understand. Use contractions and appropriate intonations, present pause patterns. At the beginning, when we are orally introducing the structures, be mindful of the suprasegmental aspects. Contextual presentation, present the structure in context. So that's it, that we need to focus on presenting structures, right? So here you have the procedure. The first 4 bullets speak about the procedure that the teacher needs to follow in terms of presenting the structure. Here you have some practices that you need to observe. Speaking slowly, not talking or not presenting more than one structure. Sticking to the same structure right from the beginning till the end of the lesson. Contextualizing all those. Use interesting material to present the structure. Contextualizing. It can be a video clip. It can be a song or maybe a colorful poster. Or else if it is going to be a discussion or brainstorming, thing like that. Then the topic, a very interesting topic can be used. And last of all, don't use lecture method, right? With the learners, since they are small, refrain from using lecture method. Make them to work on the structure. Right, so that is something related to presenting the structure. Now tell me the process of presenting the structure, those 4 bullets. Think of those 4 bullets, recall and tell me how are you going to start out the lesson?
By using an audio method, like
Okay, audio method, basically, how is it done?
using a tape or by talking teacher.
Right, by using some kind of audio input. It can be talking, it can be tape, it can be a video clip. Video clip means you can show the video as well, but the sound has to be taken into account. After that, let's assume you have used a audio clip and made them listen to a conversation between a doctor and a patient. Now, next, what are you going to do? Look at those bullets. If you have taken the snapshots, please go through those 4 bullets and tell me.
Ask
Repeat
students
the
to
dialogues
repeat.
with them.
Repeat
We
what?
have to repeat the dialogues.
The entire
Or
dialogue
each
or
line.
some parts?
Some parts, whatever they.
Right, the structural parts. Ask them to repeat the structural parts. So before they repeat, what should we do? If they are to repeat, what should the teacher do first?
Teacher has to pay attention
Teachers.
of their pronunciation and
That is when they
accuracy.
are articulating. When they are repeating, we will pay attention to the pronunciation. Before we make them to repeat, what should the teacher do? Soon after playing the audio.
Teacher has to repeat it.
Teacher needs to articulate. We pick the structure and we need to articulate it first. John wakes up at 4 a.m. He brushes his teeth soon after he gets up. He gets ready after he finishes his homework. Likewise, whatever the structures that we are intending to teach should be articulated by the teacher first. Then only they will imitate the teacher and repeat. If we don't articulate and if we are going to just show the structure, you can't show that. That comes later. The child will not be able to correctly articulate, right? So first make them listen, then teacher models the structure, after which they repeat. While they are repeating, what should be taken into account?
The pronunciation.
And supra-segments, intonation, tone, and all. Tell me some other important points that we need to observe during presenting structures. Now, this is the procedure. Overall, while we are presenting, what are the things we need to observe? The class should be a dash-centered class. What centered class?
Student-centered class.
Student-centered class. We need to make this classroom a student-centered one. Think of some other practices that we need to adhere to.
We should speak naturally, not
Right.
to use any other accent.
Good. Not using unnatural accents or being too quick to explain or being speaking too fast. That should be avoided. One more.
And we should be sticking to the topic. We should not deviate from the topic that we are explaining.
Right. We should always stick to the structure and not get deviated, carried off by
Use some interesting materials.
Exactly. Use very attractive, interesting material to present the structure. And one more important thing, how many structures are you going to present?
One.
During one particular lesson, how
One
many?
at one time.
One structure at a time. Any other? You have missed out on something. Look carefully and try to figure it out.
Starting the lesson with something that learner already knows.
Elicit and extend.
Yes.
Right? So that they know should be first taken into account. They will know something that can be at times it can be wrong, but still for all, make use of what they know, their knowledge, and extend on it. So that is all about presenting structures. When doing a structural lesson, a grammar lesson, using any grammatical structure, it can be if clause, it can be adjectives or adverbs, whatever it might be, we need to adhere to this procedure. Then comes grading structures. Rightly speaking, first we need to grade and then only go and present it. But we have talked about presenting structures. Now look how structures need to get graded. When there are multiple structures found to be presented, we can grade the structures or we can select the most important ones using this criteria, right? So you just go through it. Based on the usefulness of the structure. Now, for example, you need to teach the past perfect tense. To the same set of students, you have to teach past perfect tense and the present continuous tense. Both are there. How are you going to prioritize which one to teach first? Well and good, if in the syllabus document it's indicated, then you have to follow that. If it is not mentioned, if nothing is mentioned, we will first consider the usefulness. Are they using present continuous tense more often than past perfect tense? Definitely, it's the present continuous tense. It's very heavily used than that of past perfect. Thereby, we will go for the present continuous tense. Right? So, consider the usefulness of the structure. Productivity. If we teach that particular structure, will it promote learning new words, or maybe will it help the child to learn more language? Think of prefixes. The prefix "un", it's very productive. You find it being used with so many words to negate them. Whereas the prefix "ir", it has limited use. Ir, im, not like "un". So, considering the productivity of that structure. Then simplicity, easy to use. For the learner, it's easy to articulate and use in their day-to-day context. Whatever the structures connected to that needs to be presented. Teachability, for the teacher, whatever that is easy for the teacher to teach according to adhering to the particular methodology should be taken into account. Now, we are not going to look into all these 8. These are just criteria, but basically we focus on the first 3: usefulness, productivity, and also simplicity and teachability. First 4. Just for your knowledge, it's always good for you to know the rest of the criteria as well. After selecting the structures, grade them. How are you going to grade them? Either by using known to unknown or easy to difficult. Look at the second one. Grade the structures, correlating them to the language level of the learners. We know the language level of the learners. Accordingly, we have to grade the structures. If the learners are very weak in their language, might as well start with the simplest one. Very simple one. If it is a mixed ability class, then you can go for a somewhat challenging structure. Make sure they are appropriate to the learner's language level. If the structure is higher than the learner level, then the child will not be able to comprehend it. As a result, your lesson will be a flop. The structures should be properly scaffolded. Now, look at the example. You will understand what scaffolding is. Scaffolding means gradually increasing the difficulty level. Now, if you are to teach passive construction, all of a sudden, you can't introduce the entire passive construction. You have to introduce it step by step. So they need to know something about the subject of a sentence and the object of a sentence. Very important. When the sentence active is getting converted into passive, it's the object that takes the position of the subject. Afterwards, we have to talk about the be verbs, how be verbs are used in different tenses. Is, are in the present tense, was, were in the past tense. So the child should first of all know what be verbs are. If they don't know that, they won't be able to construct a sentence. Right? So step by step, the grammar should be explained. Maybe we can't do all these during a 40-minute lesson. So limit it. Make them to identify the subject, object, and the be verbs. And then talk about the past participle and the use of be verbs in a different lesson. Right? So scaffolding should be properly done. Otherwise, they won't be able to comprehend. We are not talking about the clever learners. For them, you can finish it within a very short period of time. But we are talking about the slow learners. Grade them, grade the structures from easy to difficult or known to unknown. One of the methods can be used. When teaching functions, language functions, they should be organized on the basis of individual functions and the exponents, right? Agreeing, disagreeing, suggestions, making suggestions, all those are language functions. So very simple exponents should be taught with slow learners. Begin with the function of self-introduction, followed by making request, the immediate function, right? So don't go to make them use disagreeing, the function of disagreeing. The priority goes to self-introduction or maybe inquiring some. Look at the unit value that needs to be taken into account and introduce the functions. If at all, if you are given a particular function and asked to teach that, then of course you need to follow that. The rest of it, you just read it, that it's talking about using different exponents. You can use can I, could I, right? So start with the simplest exponent and then extend the level or the difficulty level of the exponent. Now, this is a syllabus format which is taken from a beginner's grammar book, right? For a beginner group of learners, this is the grammar-related structures that they are intending to teach. Just have a look at it. Go through it. This is how the structural syllabus will appear. If you look at a structural syllabus course book, this is how you will find the particular syllabus laid out. Look at this. Grade the following structures based on their difficulty level. Now here, they have arranged it according to the difficulty level. I don't know whether they have arranged it or not, but as it is, it's taken as it was given in the book. The similar setup is given here. So we presume that they have arranged it accordingly. Now, our task is to arrange these structures. These belong to a structural syllabus. So think, which one can be taught first? Which one should be taught next? Likewise, based on the difficulty level, based on the known to unknown or difficult to easy concept, try to
Singular plural nouns.
singular
First
plural nouns. You are
Yeah.
going to teach that first.
Yeah.
Go through it. First of all, you go through each and
Self-introduction, oral and written.
that is going to be the first. Right. After that, what are you going to teach? Which one is of more utility value? Which one will be more useful for the learner? Is it singular plural nouns or is it
There is there was.
Yeah.
There is there was.
there this one. First one, so what is the first one? Fine. Second one, now see, there is, there was. What is being taught here? What is the grammar that is being highlighted?
Present and past tense.
Present and past.
Present and past, right? So, as the next topic after self-introduction, is it possible to teach present and past, or do you think something
No. Singular plural. Singular plural.
nouns, right? So that will be more meaningful, identifying singular nouns and plural nouns. Productivity, usefulness are more. So let's assume second, 10th will become the second one. Look for the third. What is the ninth one? Can you tell me what is taught through the ninth topic? Infinitive, using infinitive form of the verb come, sit, go, take. That is the infinitive form. Come here, sit down, get up, close your book, open your book, clean the board. All those are infinitive commands. Where are you going to place this topic? In which order, or maybe according to the pecking order, where will it stand? Are you there, or is it with the rain you all have got disconnected?
I'm there.
You're there. Right. So first now, be very careful. First self-introduction, no two words about that. Then you need to focus on, what did you mention? What was the second topic?
Commands.
Singular plural, noun, right? Or else, even before singular plural noun, you can use this. See, oral and written. Listening is also becoming a part of it. Listening and speaking. Oral means teacher is giving the oral command and the learners have to listen and follow. Right? So, when teaching language structures, the structure should be introduced orally first. And this is a very simple command that can be practiced with any primary learner, right? So you can, really speaking, put this as the second one and then singular plural, or else singular plural and soon after that commands, right? So the first three are set: self-introduction, oral commands, and then singular plural. Let's stick to that order. Now go for the fourth one.
Simple present.
Number 7.
Number 7. Permission.
Seventh one is.
That is a bit high. Permission possibility, it's
Yeah. Third one, ma'am. Simple present.
which number? Number 3.
Number 3.
Simple present tense. You can use simple present tense structures. Goes, walks, or maybe draws a picture. I come to school, likewise. After simple present tense,
Simple past.
Past.
simple past, which one? 1 or 5?
First
Two
one.
are there.
Just regular.
regular. Simple past regular, then simple past irregular. After that,
Number 2. There is, there was.
right? So there is, there was. That is also present and past getting contrasted. Next one. You only have 6, 7, 8 remaining.
Comparatives.
Comparatives, big, bigger, small, smaller. Right. Then you can use may to indicate permission and possibility, and last as either or, neither nor. Right. So that is how grading of structures need to be done. Even though you are given a syllabus, go through it and see, check whether they have graded it appropriately. Then it's easy for you to teach. Otherwise, teaching is also will not be successful, and the learners will also find it difficult to complete. Then we come towards mistakes and corrections. All read the difference between errors and mistakes. Go through that and tell me. Go through the slide and tell me what is the main difference between an error and a mistake.
Errors are systematic and mistakes are unsystematic.
Errors are systematic. Okay. Errors are systematic and mistakes are unsystematic. So why do people make errors? Why do we make errors? As a result of what?
The lack of knowledge.
Exactly, right? So that is the most important point that you need to remember. Errors take place in a writing or speaking, not due to tiredness or lapse of memory or some other health-related issue, slip of tongue or not like that. Errors are repetitive because the person lacks the needed knowledge related to the rule. Right? So as a result of it, they can be found being repeated by the learner. But mistakes, they don't get repeated. Once the person is okay, when he is fit enough, he won't make that mistake again. He will be able to overcome it himself. Errors are considered to be systematic, governed by rules, right? So if you don't know the target grammar rules, you won't be able to construct correct sentences or use the accurate language accurately. Errors provide evidence about the nature of the language learning process, where the learner stands. Is he a competent learner? Or is he a competent language user? Or is he an average language user? His standard of language can be seen by considering the errors that he makes in the writing or speaking. The learner lacks the knowledge to correct his error, even though he is made aware of them. Right? So we may tell them multiple times, what you have written is wrong. You have to correct it, but they won't be able to do that. Why? Because the child doesn't know the underlying principle or the rule. Then you have the different kinds of errors that can be seen mostly in the written work of a learner, right? So there are basically 5 kinds of errors. There are many errors, but they are classified under these 5 categories. an item omitted, right? So, for example, a preposition. I went school. The preposition to is omitted over there. I went to school. An item is added unnecessarily. I came to home. You find that error made by several learners. I came home instead of I came home. They tend to use I came to home. So an item is added unnecessarily. An item is wrongly formed in terms of pronunciation. Hall is articulated as whole, right? Wrongly formed. Spelling mistakes or any kind of different. Tell me any word that is very often spelled wrongly. You don't come across any words that learners spell. Most often they go wrong in their spelling.
C. The word C.
Sing, S-I-N-G.
No, C. S-E-A-C and S-E-E. C.
C and C. Homophones. Right? So C and C, or maybe practice, P-R-A-C-T-I-C-E, practice, and S-C, practice, both are there. Noun and verb. So they tend to make mistakes. Instead of the noun, they use the verb, or instead of the verb, they tend to use the noun likewise. So any wrongly formed word in terms of pronunciation, oral English or written English. It can be grammar related or spelling related. People, they tend to use peoples. People is already a plural. But the child doesn't understand it. It puts an additional S. Right? So grammar related, wrongly formed example. There are so many.
Except.
Yeah. Accept, ACCEX. More than accept, expect and accept. I think that is what you mentioned. Accept, CEPT and PECT. Wrong order, word order. Items are wrongly ordered, mostly the word order using the adverbs, adjectives. An item wrongly chosen, vocabulary, or using the wrong word, using the wrong intonation in spoken language. Tense. Now I want you to just note down these 5 kinds of errors, because in the following slide, we will be attempting a task. For that, you have to use these, name those sentences, whether they are having an item omitted or whether they are having an item wrongly formed, like that. So just make a note of all these 5 kinds of errors. Now go through these examples. You do it yourself. First, I'll give you 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Try to do it on your own. Just note it down. Now, Edmund immediately rang police. What kind of an error is it? You just mention, put number 1 and mention the type of error. That's it. Likewise, do all the 10. Let me know as soon as you finish it. Have you completed the first 5?
Yes.
Yes. Right. Tell me, Edmund immediately rang police. Correct it and tell me. First mention the kind of error and then correct it.
I think it's wrongly chosen.
Wrongly
The-
chosen. What
I
is
mean,
wrong chosen?
call the police. It should be call the police.
Oh,
No.
first one, omitted.
Omitted.
An
The
article.
should be added
The.
after
Yeah.
ran.
There should
The
be a.
is omitted. More
Yes,
than
yes,
wrongly
yeah.
chosen. What kind of an error is it? An item omitted. The article the is second one. The car went more faster. Wrong with that.
unnecessary. Added unnecessary. The word more.
The kind of error is, what is the kind of error?
Added unnecessary. Item
Yeah.
is added
An
unnecessary.
item is added unnecessarily. Second kind of error. The car went faster. That's it. Third one. It was badly braked.
Broke, wrongly formed. Oh, vocabulary.
Correct it. Correct it. Can you tell me the correct version?
It was badly broken.
Broken. Good. It was badly broken. He has always his breakfast early.
Added unnecessarily.
Which one is added unnecessarily?
Has. Has is unnecessary.
So
I think
delete
it's
has and
order.
Ma'am, that
I
is wrongly formed because he always has his breakfast early.
It's wrongly ordered,
ordered.
not
Yes.
formed, wrongly ordered. He always has his breakfast early. Right? So the order, or else you can even bring, he has his breakfast early always. That is also possible. Right? So the order is only wrong. Not has is okay. Has, the verb is correct. The order is wrong. He always has his breakfast early, or he has his breakfast early always. Both are possible. Fifth one. The wheel circulates once in 2 seconds.
I think item is omitted.
Item is omitted. What item
Every-
is, sorry?
The wheel circulates once in every 2 seconds.
Once in, no. It's okay. Once in 2 seconds, that construction is correct. It's not something to do with omission. It's a different kind of an error.
Is it wrong formation?
Wrong formation. Correct it to see?
The wheel is circulated or something?
Really circulated. No, it's not in the passive. You don't have to necessarily use passive construction over there. Not that as well. Look at the vocabulary. It has something to do with the words. Okay, look at the verb. I won't give any other clue. I can't give any other clue. You try to focus on the verb and see. Something is wrong with the verb. Try to find out what is wrong.
At the end, there is yes.
So it should be the wheel circulate, you mean? No. Since the subject is singular, they have used TS. That's perfectly okay. What is the meaning of circulate? What do you circulate? Circulate means what?
Like
You distribute, right? You can circulate notices, you can circulate leaflets, you can circulate some other notes or whatever, any literature, right? You distribute it among people. That action is known to be circulate. Can you circulate a wheel? Can you go and distribute a wheel among people? Is it possible? Does it make sense? Then what should be the word, exact word that needs to be used?
rotates.
Rotates, right? The wheel rotates once in 2 seconds. Think of a spin wheel or any other wheel. Hydropower, in a hydropower, the wheels that are cog wheels that are used over there, right? So the wheel rotates. So what kind of an error is it?
It's
Wrongly
wrongly
chosen.
chosen.
Wrongly chosen. An item is wrongly chosen. The vocabulary is wrongly chosen. 6. Correct. Why so long? It's so easy now. I bought 3 books yesterday. What is the mistake?
Found.
Wrong
Okay.
formation.
Wrong formation.
Wrongly
Books.
found.
Books. Pluralization, right? I bought 3 books. S is missing. Yeah. 7th one. Please answer to my letter soon. What is the mistake?
Unnecessarily
Word is
added.
used
Unnecessary.
unnecessarily.
What is unnecessarily included?
Two.
Two.
Please answer my letter soon. No, still you're wrong. Sorry?
Please answer for my letter.
That is what is given there.
No,
So
ma'am, the
without
verb,
soon,
the verb.
without so no
Punctuation. Is it?
full stop
No,
is so for all most of them I haven't put the full stop.
Yeah. Yes.
The
Yes.
verb,
Not
ma'am.
them.
Please reply for letters. We don't answer. Normally we
Ah,
reply.
exactly. Very good. Please respond to my letter or please reply. You answer a question, but you don't answer a letter. It has to be the vocabulary. The word is wrong, right? So what kind of an error? An item wrongly chosen. Next one.
Wrongly formed.
Wrong formation.
I don't know why he said it. What is the correct formation?
I don't know why
he is late.
he is late.
I don't know why he is late. Wrongly, but what is the kind of error that you mentioned?
Formation.
Wrong order.
Wrongly ordered, no? Was it
Wrong
for-
formation is also correct.
why he is late? Wrongly ordered. The words remain the same, only the order is getting changed. Ninth one. I always do many mistakes in spelling.
Wrongly chosen word.
Correct it.
Make mistake.
Huh. I always make many mistakes in spelling. Wrongly chosen. Last one. They grew up, married, moved away from their parents. No mistake. The sentence is correct. So you have to make it wrong. If you assume that there are no mistakes, correct the sentence and make it wrong then. An item is omitted. That kind of an error is there. You find out what is that item that has got omitted over there.
Got married.
Oh, good. They grew up, got married, and moved away from their parents. You can't say just married. Colloquially, it sounds okay, but in the written form, it should be got married and went away from their parents, right? So that is about the error correction. Tell me the 5 kinds of errors that are found in learners' work. Name them. An item.
Omitted.
Okay.
Omitted, added,
Um,
Added.
formed,
wrongly formed.
Wrongly formed.
Wrongly ordered,
wrong
ordered,
ordered,
Ordered.
and
wrongly
wrongly
chosen.
chosen.
wrongly chosen.
Wrongly chosen. Correcting errors. Issues that we need to focus while correcting errors. It can be written errors, it can be oral errors. When wrong language is seen to be used, the learners should be made aware of it. Mostly when they are using wrong pronunciation. Now that has to be addressed then and there. Otherwise, the learner will forget how he has articulated the word, and the teacher may also forget how he has articulated. Right? So mostly the oral errors have to be, not all the oral errors, but pronunciation related errors, oral errors need to be made aware to the learner immediately. Teacher has to decide whether the wrong usage belongs to an error or a mistake. How are we going to distinguish whether it's going to be an error or a mistake? Just by observing once, is it possible for you to come to a conclusion whether this person is making a mistake, or is it an error that he is making? Teacher, first of all, needs to observe the learner several times, right? For us to understand whether it's an error or a mistake. Consistent observation is important. If at all, if it is going to be an error, the same kind of structure or maybe the same pattern will recur. Repetitively, we will be able to see that particular structure or pattern being used by the learner on and off. Then we can conclude that it is an error. If not, once in a way, if the child is going to use that particular structure or make that mistake, then we assume that it is a mistake, right? So there can be several wrong usages. So it's up to the teacher to be very vigilant and observant in order to understand whether it's an error or a mistake. Errors can be corrected using the blackboard where it is written and explained, right? Mostly with children, even with adults, making them aware of the rule and explaining the structure will help them to overcome the errors. Or else using finger correction technique, right? So you use the 5 fingers that you have on your hand and tend to correct the errors by pointing out, maybe if at all, if you're trying to teach them contractions, I will, then you have to put both fingers together to indicate that they need to use a contracted form over there. You better Google it up in the YouTube, you will find the finger correction techniques. You have to observe it and learn, right? So search for it and try to figure out what it is all about. So either blackboard or in a very informal way, finger corrections can be done, indicating the mistake using the fingers. Systematic errors which are often made by the learners can be displayed on the wall. Whatever the errors that the teacher has identified, it's better to display the errors, not the errors, the correct version of the errors on the blackboard or maybe not on the blackboard, notice board or classroom wall or somewhere else. Example is given, subject-verb agreement, adding S to the third person singular. He, she, it, verb plus S. So if they are not adding verb plus S, it's better to construct certain sentences and display them on the wall where they will be able to see with these pronouns, verb plus S is added. So you call it the peripheral learning. You can't be explaining every time, each and every time when they go wrong, you can't be writing on the board and explaining it. So once examples are displayed on the wall, the child tends to acquire, read them, and it becomes a part of their learning. Whenever they are free, they tend to look at it and they internalize that particular structure. That is known to be peripheral learning. So you can teach something in different ways by explaining it, by displaying it and making them internalize the structure. Think of the multiplication table. Why have they displayed it on the class? Do you think every time they are memorizing that, looking at the multiplication table? Just by having a look whenever they are free, they tend to internalize whatever the content that is displayed over there. The same thing happens with language as well. So that is all about, right? So we are talking about mistakes and correcting mistakes. First of all, we need to know the difference between an error and a mistake. Then the different kinds, 5 different kinds of errors, mostly found in learner's work, and then how the teacher should tackle the errors of the learner. Pronunciation errors need to be tackled then and there. The other errors, depending on their severity, you can think of handling them, maybe leisurely or maybe immediate. Then we come towards recycling language, right? So recycling language means basically whatever the child knows. Child is not an empty vessel. There will be something inside the child. Whatever language or whatever language related knowledge the child knows. It can be alphabets, it can be just simple words. That has to be elicited and recycled. Read. Whatever we have discussed up to now, most of the points that we have already discussed is repeated. See, introduce new language with already known language structures. Under presentation, we talked about it. Recycling means making use of what they know, the structures or any language related strand that they know should be elicited, and then new language or new structures should be introduced. Avoid too many items, one at a time. We talked about it. Utilize the old language to help teach new structures, right? The same thing. Old language means any language items that they know. It can be nouns, it can be verbs, it can be any parts of speech to teach new language items. See, phrasal verbs. When we are teaching phrasal verbs, teacher needs to revise the knowledge related to prepositions. Why? Phrasal verbs are built using prepositions plus verbs. So if they don't know what a preposition is, or if they are unable to identify the preposition, teaching phrasal verbs will become very challenging, right? So the known knowledge of the learner should be utilized, and then the new structures should be introduced on top of it. Read, practice, and production. Just go through it, since we have already discussed this in the presentation stage. Only the phrases or the wording is different, but the content is more or less same, right? The emphasis, in order to emphasize the procedure, the content is getting repeated. Articulation, we talked about the articulation. Teacher modeling the sentence first and then making them repeat the sentence. While they are repeating the sentences or the structures, or while the structures are being drilled, make sure to check for the meaning. At times, just like a parrot, they might automatically articulating the structure. To avoid that, check for the meaning once in a while. Right? So that is something that we did not include before. So make it a point, keep it in mind. Other than that, almost all the oral articulation should be provided first in the proper context. We talked about it. Modeling, teacher modeling the sentences or structures, and then the learners following it, right? Drilling the structures as a whole class, group, pairs, right? So we talked about drilling. How are we going to drill? First, as a whole class, make them to articulate this structure as a whole class, then one small group, different small groups, and then randomly you elicit it from one or two learners. Other than that, much. Look at yourself. Just take a snapshot of the last two slides, practice and production. have a read up. Look at your self-study task. Have you completed the previous self-study tasks?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Right,
ma'am.
so this will be the last self-study task for Unit 5. With this, we wind up the entire Unit 5. Right, so go through this and ask me if at all if you're finding any difficulty or if you're not sure of any answer. Look at the fourth one. How can the errors be corrected? By explaining the rules and indicating examples, you can correct. That is one way of correcting errors using the blackboard. You explain the rules, you give further examples, and you can correct the errors by using that method. The second method is finger correction, right? So you have to browse and find information related to finger correction and write a small paragraph about it. Which one is more grievous? Errors and mistakes. Which one is dangerous?
Error.
Errors. Why? Give me a reason. Why do you say errors are dangerous?
Because that's where they learn the basic knowledge. So if they miss out on learning the basic rule and the knowledge, then it will be difficult for them to even understand the topic and the lesson.
Right. So that will get, errors will continue, and as a result of it, they might learn the language or learn the rules in a wrong way, right? You call it the fossilization. If you just allow the errors to remain, ultimately, it will end up in fossilization. That means wrong learning. And that cannot be easily taken away from the learner. Right. Can I share the handout with you? Are you in need of any slide of today's session? If so, tell me the slide number. Okay. Then, are you anyone who is using the laptop?
Can you share the PDF file, Miss?
PDF
The
file
hand,
handout.
no, Miss, handout today session.
Yeah. Are you in your laptop?
Yes, Miss. Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
That's why I asked. Let me know as soon as you receive it. Have you? Teaching grammar?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So there, it's a very brief handout, but you better make use of the snapshots that you have made. You have something more in the snapshots than what is given in the handout. Combine both together and try to complete the entire unit. Okay, then we will be starting Unit 6 next Sunday. Yeah, next Sunday. Okay, see you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.